We are so excited to be here.
Welcome. Welcome everyone. Good Monday. Good morning, not morning. Well, for some people are morning today. Good evening here. Good Monday. Happy Monday, everyone. And welcome to another special program in Sports Be Life International. Today we are hosting a roundtable on a very special topic. You know, mobile gaming changed the industry forever in video games, in esports, and now we're talking about how mobiles are changing still the industry and the future of mobile gaming in esports. And here with me is my partner, Yasmina, beautiful, awesome Yasmina,
Oh, thank you.
gamer lawyer, my favorite gamer lawyer. And today we are bringing here three very special guests. That isn't it?
We are going to, and they're all experts regarding the issue of mobile gaming. So I'm pretty excited. I don't know if you want to start, Laura, or if I introduce the first guest. I don't know. What would you prefer?
I shall introduce the first guest. So many of you know him, and he came to our program some weeks ago. We got some mobile sports specialists driving innovation in the mobile first content strategies, live and online event execution, outcome founder of Base. It's a pleasure to have here back Matt Rutledge.
Yay! Hello.
Hello, Matt. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course, we have to have you. You are the champion here.
Hardly, but I appreciate it.
And you want to say the second guest, Laura, or if I can do
That's
it?
okay. Okay, I can introduce a second guest, which is a queen. Yeah, a queen who came here not long time ago. Our fabulous Lizard Queen, one of the most important casters in Latin America, who works with Riot, broadcast multitude of games, and she's a tough defender of mobile esports, and also she's a Wonder Woman for me. Welcome, Lizard Queen. How are you doing?
Hey guys, thank you for that introduction. Oh my god, I'm just a humble caster here. Hi, Matt. I'm a huge fan of yours. I've been following you like for 6 years now, so I'm so happy to be here with you. And also, of course, you guys. But you didn't miss me. I mean, we saw each other like I don't know, 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and I bring you back. I'm so sorry.
Yes, you're back.
So happy to have you back. And Lesmina, would you like to introduce our third guest?
Yes, of course. Actually, it's an amazing person. It's an enterprise influencer relation in NVIDIA. And actually, if you know about eSport and you follow LinkedIn, probably you follow her news. And it knows a lot about ramen, by the way, because when I interviewed it, we were talking about ramen. So it's a pleasure to have Maka here. And it was in the first edition, so it's the original one.
Guess that's my claim to fame. Thanks for having me back, everybody, and glad to be alongside everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a dream team here to talk about mobile gaming. So let's start with a simple topic. In your opinion, why do you consider that many times when talking about mobile gaming, it seems like the ugly jack of video games? Do you think this is so? Let's start, for example, with Matt. Now we can have round clock information, for example. Matt, then Lizard Queen, and then Markai, if you are okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question to start with because, those of us in the mobile gaming industry have had to fight through stigma and perceptions about us and the platform and everything from day one. And I think it's one of the coolest things about this industry is that you have a bunch of people that are in it for the passion and they don't care about what other people think. So, we all are really, really hard set that, mobile gaming and mobile esports is going to be successful, whether our friends in PC or console approve of us or not. So, but yes, I definitely think that stigma is there. There's also, to be fair, some truths to the stigma, right? There's a significant amount of casual mobile games that are out there. Most players are on the more casual side of the spectrum, but there's a really healthy esports side as well. And it's something that also is very complementary. So we have lots of esports right now that do great from the competitiveness perspective, but then they're also really fun to watch and they can appeal to casual fans. So I think we get the best of both worlds here.
It's amazing.
Well, of course, I agree on that. It's difficult to fight this stigma every day. And yes, I think it is related to casual gaming. Is this always this question of, for example, someone that plays Candy Crush? Is he or she a gamer or not? Is going to be competitive or not? And this idea of a mobile game, if it should be competitive or not. Some of them are criticized for that too. That then we can go deeper on that. But this idea of becoming an esport is difficult for some games. It's difficult for some people to understand that concept. But of course, it takes a lot of study, analysis, and hours of training as PC or console or whatever platform. So, well, I think it's a matter of our content creators, casters, and everything to educate people on that and to show them that it takes a lot of effort and hard work to be in a esports like ecosystem within mobile gaming.
Yeah, I have to agree with the points made already. I do think that mobile specifically, because phones are so easily accessible, that's probably also one reason why, like, everyone has a phone, so the barrier to entry to mobile is much lower. So you have a very high number of people who play, but a lot of people who don't really want to culturally identify as being a gamer, less than that esports, right? So I think that's one thing. And then also, phones came around later than computers did, generally speaking. So I think there's less time for it to have been existent. Computer esports and console esports have been around for a while, and you sit down and you play. Usually I think a lot of times people think of mobile as, oh, I'm just going to play this while I'm waiting in line for something, right? It's not really, I'm going to put time in competitively, but there are people who do that, evidently, as we all know. So I think that's kind of a thing. And because so many people do play mobile games, I don't think they are aware of the more competitive side. So that's kind of my take. But yeah.
That's so interesting that all the topics that you are actually bringing here, and I think we can follow the next one that is related with that. Like, for example, what advantages you notice from mobile gaming in respect to other esport ecosystem? Because Mark was saying one point that is actually that everyone has a phone, so actually it's the barrier to actually get access to it is much easier, because nowadays having a good PC is not so easy and it's quite expensive, but a mobile game could be much cheaper in somehow. So I will start with you, Mark, because you put the interesting point here, and we will follow the discussion with Lisa and then Matt.
Sure. I think competitive advantages, I think almost all, and if not Matt and Lizard, please correct me, but I think almost all like mobile titles are free. So like that's already a huge thing. A lot of console and PC titles, esports, they cost a lot of money. So that's like a huge advantage, right? A lot more accessibility. And then I think the fact that you can play physically basically anywhere is very nice too. So if you want to pull out a game of Brawl Stars while you're waiting on the bus, you can do that. You cannot do that with Call of Duty on your console. You can't just pull out the console in the middle of the bus, right? So I think there's in that sense, yeah, competitive advantages. But I think a lot of people will cite, oh, well, maybe the controls are less intuitive because it's all fingers and there's no keyboard, mouse pad, or controller, things like that. There's not as much intuitiveness, but they have not seen people play with 6 fingers or 8 fingers on a mobile device yet. That's the most insane thing. I remember when I went from 2 to 4 fingers, that was a big leap. And now there's people with 6, 7, 8, however many fingers they play with, depending on the type of game you play, what device you play, and if it's larger or smaller, if you play on tablet versus phone. There's a lot of nuance to it. So I think honestly, you can be a lot more. You can customize a lot more, right? Because typically when you're playing, let's say, a shooter game on PC, it's WASD. You're using WASD, you're using mouse 1, you're using mouse 2 for aim, whatever you do. It's the same controls basically everywhere. But on mobile, some people have their shoot button on the left side, on the right side, on the bottom, on the top. You place it wherever you want. So there's a lot more customization to actually playing the games itself, I think.
It's amazing you discovered me a new world with the 6th finger. Like, you discovered me a new world.
It's hard. I don't know how the players do it. It's wild what they do.
For me, it's crazy. Even if I feel like an old lady when I'm with the phone, because it's like with 2, and I feel, oh my god, I look like my father right now.
I also sometimes I do the eagle strategy.
And what about you, Lisa? What do you think? What are the
Well,
advantages here?
it's funny that I never thought of this idea of every game being free, but it was like, yes, of course they are free, but I didn't think of that idea, and that's true. Of course, I mean, it has to do with this. Well, especially here in Latin America, right? Our economy is terrible. Well, we know that, so it's really much easier to have a smartphone, a good one to play any type of game than a PC, and that is going to be the best advantage every time. But of course, this idea also of a device that you're using every day, like at every hour sometimes, so you will get used to it if you practice and you train, but you just need a couple of minutes, just as Mark said. For example, I love short video games. That is why I love mobile gaming, because it's going to be short. It won't take a lot of time. Brawl Stars is an excellent example of that. You can take a match in, I don't know, 2 minutes or maybe 1 minute if it's fast enough. So that is the idea of being casual to relax. Maybe it's not maybe as stressful as PC sometimes, especially a shooter. uh, so I think that is the first advantage, and that is why everyone can relate to it and say, well, if I play enough, maybe I can get competitive, maybe I can try well, to be try hard, let's say. And that is a change, but that is definitely what attracts us to mobile gaming. And also, well, different features inside games, like, I don't know, the pop-ups and skins and everything, of course, is going to be attractive too, but it's not like you need to pay to win. It's not like that. It's just cosmetics and stuff that is also attractive, especially for younger generations. That is the best for us. I mean, if we can get a, I don't know, a 13-year-old to become a competitive player on mobile gaming, that's huge. He's going to have an amazing and long career, so that's even better for us.
What about you, Matt?
Totally agree with everything that Lizard Queen said, and Mark also. I think the biggest strength of mobile is its accessibility, right? Because the reality is that smartphones are so good now that you basically have a PC in your pocket at all times, right? So it's so nice just to be able to play at any time, and with mobile also having shorter game modes, it's easy for you to just pop on for a match or a round, at any whenever it makes sense for you. And so mobile really fits into your lifestyle in a natural way more than PC or console does. And then one other thing that I'll just add, because again, I think totally agree with everything that was said. One other competitive advantage that mobile gaming has is the fact that, just from a technology perspective, everything is going mobile nowadays, right? Not just games, but social media apps are now primarily mobile apps, because that's the platform that most people use them on. And also true for communication apps and things like Discord. I mean, we're just so fortunate also that there's so much innovation and technology just in the mobile side of things that we get to integrate with that, and naturally make that part of the gaming experience too. So it's a big advantage, I think, just the fact that mobile itself is this huge revolution and is accessible to everybody all around the world with an internet connection.
It's a really interesting topic, and actually, I was hearing the same topic, but regarding the cinema perspective. Nowadays, you have a camera that's quite good in comparison, and they were saying that maybe we can allow in the future movies that are entirely done with the mobile phones. So it's increasing, guys. So you have to approve it and support mobile. Come on.
Definitely.
I totally agree. Mobile is the way to go. It's very accessible. You can take it everywhere. And it provides some mechanics that other platforms don't have as well. And let's get rid of as well of the misconception that Candy Crush or mobile games are in real games. Or I mean, they are games. You can play them. You can play them, so they are video games, actually. And now you made some very interesting points about the advantages of mobile gaming. Why should the industry bet on mobile esports? What are the main attractions, not just the mobile gaming, but the mobile esports? Let's start, for example, with let's say
Ladies
Barcelona,
first here.
with Matt, with Matt, and then Lizard, and then Mark.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. Why should other industries care about mobile esports and really focus on it? I think one thing that's really true is that you're getting access to a totally new demographic and set of users, right? So that's one reality of mobile, is that we have generally a younger demographic. Well, it's very much spread, right? Because everybody nowadays has a phone and plays games. I was just talking on a call the other day with someone who plays Clash of Clans with his grandmother, and so there's really a widespread for the player base. But generally for mobile gaming and mobile esports, you're talking about a bit of a younger demographic that you're not going to get on, let's say, in the console side of things. But also, you're really becoming part of the future, right? Mobile is this new revolution. It's the new kid on the block, and it's why it gets so much stigma sometimes. But it's one of those also where if you're not part of it, you're going to miss out once it passes you by and you see everybody else riding the wave and stuff, and you're not on it. So I think there's a little bit of FOMO as well, just knowing that it's this huge revolution that's already in motion, is going to succeed whether you're approval or not.
I love the comparison with the new neighbor. The poor thing. That's why it's sometimes saying ugly things to him. That's why. Because it's the new one.
Yes, it is. But well, I think it's becoming more attractive also, for example, for brands. At least I see that here in Argentina and Latin America. For example, we just organized Free Fire tournament on a whole weekend because Movistar was trying to sponsor this idea of, if you get a phone, you can play Free Fire, for example. And it's related, and they even got a discount for you to buy the phone on that weekend of the tournament, everything like that. And that is when I realized that brands are also, of course, getting this idea of, this is the new attraction. People will get a phone not only for social media or for TikTok. It's going to be also to play, and that is the best attraction we have nowadays. And it's becoming bigger and bigger. And if it's happening here in Latin America, of course, it's going to happen around the world. And I think even PC is not getting that much attraction when it comes to esports. It's going to be more difficult because you need more numbers and everything. And when it comes to mobile, you need to take that chance, to take that risk. Maybe you don't have the numbers yet, but you will if you continue investing and, of course, producing a good show and everything, right? But it's a risk that is going to be even better for your brand in the future. But we don't have the numbers yet and everything as PC. So that is maybe the barrier we need to overcome these days. But it's definitely a good attraction too. This is new, so we can try. Let's see how it is, and well, if it works or not.
Seriously.
Yeah,
What about you, Mike?
actually, I think mobile esports does pull the numbers already. Actually, depending on which esport you're watching, because I know there's some esports like Mobile Legends,
Mobile
MLBB.
Legends.
They're huge in Southeast Asia. I think the primary regions for mobile esports are Southeast Asia and Latin America and India. And so the people that watch them, very high amount of people that watch mobile esports specifically, I think they dominate over PC or console esports in those regions. And the thing is, I think a lot of times in more Western esports countries, they don't really talk about PUBG Mobile, Mobile Legends, Arena, Valor, those types of games because they're just not as prevalent here. But they get more viewers oftentimes in Call of Duty League than CS:GO, than Valorant, than League of Legends. And so it's just like there's a higher number of people watching them. So I think specifically for mobile esports, if you are focused on the pure numbers, it actually works out pretty well. It's whether or not that is your actual demographic, right? Because there might be different use cases for folks advertising in Indonesia per se versus Germany. So I think just geographically it has a lot to do, but I think they found a lot of success, and obviously they have huge sponsors for their tournaments and millions of viewers, peak viewers, and hours watched and whatnot. So I think mobile esports is doing well in the regions it's already been pretty well established in.
Yeah, that's I like how you put the scenario right now of mobile gaming in a very realistic way as well. What do you think, Jasmina?
Well, I actually think that's a quite interesting topic here because
Hmm.
we will, for example, you say something, Mark, that we didn't realize when we were doing this turntable because I think we are having the perspective, especially from Europe and Latin America and America, but not so much about Asia. So that's a really interesting topic because it's true that there, I think it's stronger the connection they have with mobile gaming. I have another question here, but I think I'm going to focus with this. In your own experience, guys, because how you see demographically in your own countries, you think there is still things to improve in comparison, for example, with Asia? And what should be improved in that area? What do you think? I'm so sorry, I changed the questions here because it was.
Nah,
because of Mark.
I will get the next question, but for me, if you're okay with that.
And I
I'd love
think
to.
we said which one we want to start. You want to start, Matt?
Well, I'd love to kick off maybe just on that one. I think it's a really good question, actually. So it's fascinating to me how mobile gaming has taken off in different regions around the world, because you might think it's similar, it's just because it's mobile or whatever, but it actually, if you look at it, the reason why mobile gaming and mobile esports blew up in Southeast Asia is totally different than why it blew up in India and why it blew up in Brazil and Latin America. And then, so if you look at Southeast Asia, one of the biggest factors was tie-ins with collegiate systems and high schools and people that were just growing up having their mobile phone with them, playing at school basically, and it kind of grew this grassroots community from there. And why it took off in China is primarily because of tie-ins of social apps like WeChat. So it's very similar for those of us, that don't use WeChat. Another example people compare it to is like Facebook gaming when that first blew up. And you remember getting notifications for Farmville, and like every one of your friends was trying to send you some notification for a game on Facebook games, right? And so that's kind of how it was in China when mobile really took off. People were comparing their leaderboard stats on WeChat and talking with each other, communicating through the app while they're playing these games. And so the social aspect was a big reason why it blew up in China. And India, one of the biggest reasons why it exploded was that, the technology penetration was huge. Like everybody had a mobile phone, but they didn't quite have a stable internet connection in order to really play games. And so it was when a network provider really went aggressive and rolled out internet coverage across the country that people suddenly were, for the first time, were able to engage in gaming and play these titles on their phones that they already had. And so that's why mobile gaming really took off then. So it all is about accessibility and the connection and social aspects, but it's for different reasons. So like when people start asking me, when is mobile gaming going to take off in the US, or when is it going to take off in Europe and stuff, you never really know what that tipping point's going to be, because it's different across all regions, but it's going to be something that's mobile related, right? With the accessibility, with the social, with it just being casual and integrated into your lifestyles and stuff. So it's really just inevitable because it feels like it's a matter of time. But one thing that I would like to see, just to tie it into your question of what we can learn from other regions, I'd love to see more collegiate support and more scholastic support, high school programs that use mobile to have clubs and get people, playing together in a fun setting. And, gaming is such a powerful medium to learn, even just things like, hard work and diligence and perfecting your craft and stuff. And I think there's a lot of kids that could benefit from like a structured environment at their school. to be able to have clubs and just the community around them that they can play with. But we just haven't quite seen that for a lot of reasons, but it hasn't popped up yet. I'd love to see more scholastic and university programs for the mobile platform.
Hopefully they hear this roundtable and they take into account. That would be nice. And now, I will start with Mark and then with Lizard. So it's going to change a little bit there. I'm going to destroy the structure here, guys. Get used to it. So Mark, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think I think it's difficult. I did a little research into this, and I know Matt has mentioned, like you don't really know the tipping point, and that's really true. Like we don't know until it happens. However, I think in the U.S. specifically, in the region I'm at, it's tough. I think a lot of cultural things, because I don't think the technology is behind in the U.S. anymore. I think if there's any country where like the technology is there, it is the U.S. Like most young people at least have iPhones, which is like the premium phone. Most people in the world do not have iPhones. So I think it's not really technology, more as a culture thing. I know Matt has engaged in this many a time on Twitter with like, there's big influencers and creators who are like mobile esports or mobile gaming is not real. Dr. Disrespect. But there's lots of, I think, large figureheads who grew up with that attitude and are still pushing that on younger generations, which is, as much as it might be a joke for them, that is truly what a lot of people do think. They're like, oh, mobile gaming is not real, mobile esports is bad, even though it's like Call of Duty Mobile. That is the one-to-one between Call of Duty console/PC and Call of Duty and on your phone. They just still are like, oh, just because it's mobile, it's not good. It's the same franchise. Come on, like, are we really playing this
Right
game?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's really a lot of cultural stuff, and I think as long as any specific culture views PC or console as the highest tier of esport, it will not, like, mobile will kind of fail. I think, well, not necessarily fail, but won't flourish as much. I think in a lot of other regions, they're like, why would I go to PC or why would I go to console when I have a phone that's perfectly capable? Versus in the US, it's like, oh, I'm going to start on my phone and then I'm going to upgrade to console and I'm going to upgrade to PC. Like, there's still that attitude of going even further and up for a higher performance, maybe device or just a different style of gameplay. Just because I think that's how the culture is kind of oriented here. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but that's kind of what I grew up with. I think a lot of people around me are like, oh, like, maybe start playing on your iPod, play Doodle Jump, and then like, oh, I can play a better game, and I can go to my Xbox and I can go to, build my own PC and whatnot. So I think that's kind of the progression in the US. And if that were to change eventually, depending on where you are physically or, how the culture is around you, I think that would be a pretty big tipping point.
Really interested in that.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Lisa, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to give an example of this idea of the cultural influence. When I got the chance to cast Honor of Kings, that is the newest MOBA, it is number one in China, like the number one. It's going to be like but for, I don't know, millions. But in other regions, it's not that big. It's like a contradiction there. And when I got to cast it, it was extremely difficult. And this is where the cultural thing goes. The names of the heroes are Chinese.
Oh my god.
So it was like, okay, so I need to cast extremely fast to say Mai Shiranui and Gonsun Li and all those names that, of course, and not well pronounced. I'm sorry, of course, I don't know Chinese, but it's like it's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same as Darius, for example, from League of Legends, right? Ari, the Lux, these names that are extremely easy to learn, instead of these Chinese names. So there was a cultural barrier that was difficult, and even the players didn't know the names of the heroes. For example, sometimes they told me, no, the one that does this and like that, without using the name. So that was a huge problem. And I think it's going to be a huge problem, for example, for other regions. But at the same time, there's a contradiction. In Brazil now, it is one of the number ones also. But it may be affected because of, for example, Wild Rift going down with their competitive system. Like, well, Mobile Legends going to be huge anyway, but not so much in Brazil. They are huge in Peru, for example. So we have different cultural aspects that are going to affect, and I think we need to solve them. Like, I don't know if adapt the names or something, or in social media maybe this idea of uh, get to know the heroes, for example, get to know the game. This idea of a global release that is not there, for example, in the case of Honor Kings, that is going to come out in the 8th of March, but only for Brazil. I'm crying here because I want to play it and I can't. So it's like, I will really like the game, but this idea of dates and regions and betas, it's like a mess. So
Oh,
I think we
that's a
need to work
pity.
on that too. Yeah, I mean, from the social aspect, also in social media and stuff. For another example, Mobile Legends has a great coverage on TikTok. You see
Hmm.
clips of Mobile Legends every day. Even though if you have a clip when you're playing, the game makes a clip of your highlights, which is, I think, it's the best option ever, and you get a notification from TikTok saying that you have a highlight. It's related, it's amazing. I think every mobile game should have a coverage like that, and that is one big point for Mobile Legends. Well, the rest need to work on that too. And there we go, right? The social aspect, the cultural aspects combine, and well, we need to work on marketing and we need to make some changes. It's going to be difficult, but well, we have some hints there.
That's so interesting. I never thought about it, the names, but it's so important. Actually, it is in the end.
Believe me, it is.
Oh, Chinese. It's quite difficult language.
Yeah.
So we talk about the geographical difficulties of the mobile gaming, and also you portrayed a pretty realistic landscape on the mobile gaming nowadays. Let's talk about the efforts that the industry should make right now. Because there are aspects that can be improved in the mobile gaming industry. What do you think? Which improvements have to go the mobile industry right now, apart from the geographical aspects?
Who
Let's
wants to
start
be
with
the first?
what's your first? Yeah, let's break the order again. I will start with Lizard Queen, and
Oh,
then
sorry,
with
Lisa.
It's okay.
with Mark, and then with Matt.
All right. Well, of course, we talked about many different aspects on how to promote games and how to relate them with brands. These ideas needs to be done, and I think they are happening already. I don't know, these examples of this is PC, but anyway, it can apply. For example, when they did like I think it was Burger King combo with Call of Duty. I think it was. It's an example, right? This idea of, well, instead of doing with Modern Warfare, do it with COD Mobile, right? I'm sorry, I mix the Spanish sometimes, but
Don't worry.
this idea. To use the marketing to attract people, as we did with this tournament of Free Fire, right? There were many different casual players there, but they knew they could win a phone. So it started to be competitive. But there were people that were just walking down the mall and they saw there was a tournament and you can win a phone and everything. So they sign up. But for example, all of these ideas, not only online, well, of course we have tournaments and everything, this is related to esports, but this idea of the brands related, the social media there showing all the time, instead of League of Legends and Valorant clips that are extremely viral these days, maybe to try harder to make viral another clips, And not only Free Fire, that is going to be one of the biggest ones, of course, at least here in Latin America and Europe, I think so too. So of course we need to invest more money too, because it's going to be a huge battle against PC and these games. For example, that Valorant nowadays is like almost as popular as League of Legends, I think, or even more. So of course it's going to be a huge battle against it. Valorant Mobile is coming, for example, but I don't know if it's going to be that big. I don't know. I have my a controversial opinion there. I love you, Riot, but I don't know. I don't have so much faith on it. But the good strategy would be to get all the other shooter players, Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, all of them combined to play Valorant Mobile, for example. It's going to happen. I don't know. Oh, I hope
We
so.
will see.
We'll see.
It's actually a very good idea, I think. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think as far as mobile gaming and just esports in general, I honestly feel like they should just focus on mobile. Like, don't necessarily try and get people from PC, because if they're playing on PC, they're playing on PC. Like, they're not really. I don't
That's
think
right.
it's really hard to change minds and hearts. But if people are already interested in mobile, it's less of let's get PC people and console people to care about mobile, because they don't. It's more so let's get the casual mobile people to care more about competitive, or let's just get people who play mobile games now actively. Maybe they're a little more hardcore, but they're not competitive. How do we get them into that funnel? Because there's so many more players. It's like focus on the people who already warm leads, I guess, right? People who are already interested in the games, in the kind of the whole update scheme and that. It's much easier to convert them into people to watch esports, right? Like I love CSGO esports, and just looking at that specifically, that's PC. But geographically speaking, it's pretty dead in the US. Like, there's not many teams, and so the publisher focuses on Europe, where the player base and the fan base is large. So I think that's something that a lot of these mobile esports and gaming kind of teams and companies can look into, is just like, where are people who actually play this game and like us? Let's just focus on those regions. We don't have to try and expand into every single region, especially if the ones they don't care about us. Like, why would we put our efforts into a place that will not really accept us or love us as much? Why don't we just continue to grow in the places we're growing? Yes, I think that will make it more and more siloed, but at the end of the day, esports is huge, right? You know, watching Dota 2 versus watching Valorant versus watching, you know, Rocket League, all very different scenes. And I imagine a lot of the people who watch those or even play those probably don't cross over, right? If you're a hardcore Rocket League esports fan, you probably, I wouldn't imagine, watch a ton of Dota 2. It's just very different games. You have to learn a lot of different things. So as much as everyone talks about esports generally, I think it's still very like, you are in your specific scene and you know your specific scene. And so I think that's the approach a lot of mobile esports kind of tournament organizers or publishers or studios should take, is just focus on where it's already doing well, and then just grow that area instead of trying to dominate every single aspect of gaming and esports. I think that's a very difficult one, and one that will cost a lot of money and might not lead to a lot of results.
I like your point, Mark. It's quite interesting there, because I think especially publishers are always focused to bring more, and they don't realize that maybe focus on one strategy, consolidate the area, and then maybe you can expand, but first consolidate it, and then you will see what happened there. And what about you, Matt? What do you think?
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's one of the biggest challenges that we have right now in the mobile gaming industry, is that it is so siloed, right? You have each game that is its own community, and then every region is different, right? And because of language barriers, it's hard to communicate across regions. So there's a lot of disconnection right now amongst the industry. So definitely, I mean, to Mark's point, if you're going to succeed right now as a game, focus on one, do it well, right? And then you can move on to the next section and stuff. But that's one of the things also that I'd love to try to bring awareness to and help to maybe break down some of those barriers. I actually just announced a couple months ago this new partnership with the Esports Awards to be able to actually launch a standalone award show for the mobile gaming industry. And it is going to hopefully start chipping away at how siloed this industry is, at least, helping to bring some light to some incredible stories that are going on around the world. But we're going to be able to roll this out actually this year. The first award show is taking place in July, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be the Mobile Awards, but a little bit of a teaser, I guess, on this show. We'll be announcing more in about a month from now. But really excited for what we're going to be doing with that. And again, hoping to really shed some light on some amazing stories, get some great people involved to showcase the best of the industry.
That's interesting. I will have to bring you back again. You should talk more about it. And now, of course, I will have to ask you, not about the future yet, but of course, all of you have a lot of expertise in relation with mobile gaming, and I would like to know from your own point of view, which trends are you being aware of regarding this in mobile gaming? What do you think the people should be aware of? If you can share it. So I'm going to start with Matt. It's your turn. I pass the ball to you.
Yeah, it's something that we've been talking about for a while, but I'm still really excited for cloud gaming. I think just being able to have the processing done on a server instead of on your local device means that it can just be as powerful as any other supercomputer, right, that you might be able to play. And so that means that now all of a sudden, if you have a mobile phone, you have access to immediately play a AAA title where your phone is becoming now just your screen, right? So I think that's also a great way to make mobile more common amongst PC and console-based gamers, right? They may be resistant to using their phone if you think, oh, it's a mobile game, or oh, I'm going to be a mobile gamer. Just tell them it's a screen, okay? And they can connect their controller to it, and they can play on it, and they can feel like a console gamer, right? And that's fine for us. But I think that's something that we'll see over time. Is that especially when cloud gaming really rolls out and get the technical side of things really smooth, right, for the users, then that's going to help really bring a lot more mainstream adoption of mobile to PC and console-based players. So definitely really excited for that.
That's interesting. So we have the first point, like cloud gaming. I think that's quite interesting. And as you say, it's a screen. So guys, it's a screen. And but what about you, LizardQueenT? You have to say second, and Margaret's going to be the third one to say.
Clockwise again.
It's interesting, this idea of technology. For example, I know in the US is really common, but here in Latin America, and I'll give another example because I give examples for everything. When we had the first regional tournament of Wild Rift, Riot didn't have the wire to make the connection straight. I mean, not to use Wi-Fi, right? So, of course, I knew this, and the people that were involved in mobile gaming knew that this already exists, but they didn't know. So in Latin America, for example, that is there are lots of people that have no idea about it. They do tournaments using Wi-Fi here in Argentina. Yes, I mean it's chaotic, of course. I mean
that's so risky, actually.
Yes, definitely.
You can do an actual how do you say this genre? The battle royale via Wi-Fi. The last one standing with how their connection failed is the winner.
Yes, exactly. And they sometimes need to use data instead of Wi-Fi because it doesn't work out. So it's even worse. It's like here we need to normalize that aspect. I know that nowadays there are even routers that you can connect your phone straight to it. And of course, I knew this because I saw there in the USA pages from North America, not here. We have no idea about it. But if you search about it, you can buy one. It's not that even expensive or anything, but I think in our region we need to educate more about this aspect, because of course then you are like, oh, I want to run a tournament, but the Wi-Fi doesn't work out. So we don't do mobile. That it happened here a lot. For example, in Argentina Game Show, that is one of the biggest events here in gaming, and they didn't host any mobile gaming tournament because of that, because of Wi-Fi. That is a huge problem.
Oh my god, they love to live in the high risk, like, oh, come on, play
Yes.
with Wi-Fi.
Google. Oh my god.
I hope they realize about it. I hope so. And what about you, Mark? What do you think it's going to be the trends from last year that you notice here?
Yeah,
Yours.
I think they, Matt and Lizard Queen have both taken more of a technology perspective. So I'm gonna take a little bit like the game itself. I think the trend of AAA game IPs like Call of Duty, like Valorant, like all these games, and then putting them onto mobile esports. Like Valorant Mobile is said to be being made. I think EA was saying they were going to make a couple of these mobile renditions of it. Some of them were canceled, but either way, I think just the fact that the publishers are making these large, very well-known IPs into mobile titles, I think that shows that they actually care about it. Whether or not it's for just money, that could be it. But obviously they want to make money off of it. But either way, I think it still shows that they support it. And like Apex Legends Mobile, for instance, I mean, unfortunately, that's not going to be a thing anymore. But people were very happy about it when it was a thing. So I think just seeing like how many more of these happen, or are they completely brand new IP, right? Is it like a mobile studio, like a Brawl Stars, right? There's no Brawl Stars equivalent for PC. It's just Brawl Stars. Or are we going to see more of the like, Dota but for phone, right, type thing, which is like League of Legends Wild Rift. That's already in esports. So I think I'm just curious to see whether or not publishers take those AAA titles, make them into esports, or whether they're going to make their own mobile esports, or whether it's going to be mobile developers who make their own esports, right? There's like a lot of different combinations of like, are we going to see new ones? Are we just going to see the same game from PC but ported over to mobile, and how's that going to interact? And is it going to be different from the game on PC and console? But I still think bringing a franchise to mobile brings a lot of legitimacy, because I knew a lot of people, just friends who were not involved in the mobile gaming industry. When Call of Duty Mobile came out, they were like, oh, have you played COD on your phone? Like, it's pretty cool. Like they just because of the name of Call of Duty, I think they respect it more versus some new title that they haven't heard of. So I think that's we'll see, I guess, if that really does anything. But I think it's pretty worthwhile to know that like the publishers are actually kind of caring about it.
That's quite interesting, and I love it because the human mind works, right? Like, oh, here is the title. Oh no, it's not so much a ugly duck here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to talk about why Call of Duty is much more respected than Candy Crush or another
Candy Crush.
aesthetic video games. I have my own theory, but that's that
That's
will
a
be
topic
for
that we can have for another round table
for
discussion.
another round table. Why some mobile gamings have more prestige than other ones, even though they are playing on the same platform. But now let's move on to the future. We talk about the lessons learned about this year, and now let's talk about the future. What do you think mobile gaming could be in the future, in the next 5 years, for example?
Well,
Let's
that's
start
awesome.
with
Oh, 1 year. We can...
yeah, 1 year. I was thinking, yeah, for next year. I was thinking about
Oh,
1 year
I
or 5 years. Yeah, there's the other host for Sports Be Live. This is Dante from the Devil May Cat series. I will start with following the tradition with Mark. What do you think the future of mobile gaming will be in the next year or in the next 5 years?
If you have a ball there, you have to guess what is going to happen.
Oh boy, I wish I had the magic 8 ball. No, I think Matt
Don't we
had a
all?
great point of just of cloud gaming. I think if cloud gaming is more of a thing, it's one where I don't actually see a lot of talk about it on social, but I think a lot of people do use it because it's more like a tool and apparatus to do something. People aren't going to be like, oh, cloud gaming's amazing on Twitter. I think they will just use cloud gaming, but it won't be talked about a lot. I think that's a really interesting thing, especially in mobile, because there's so many casual games, right? Like I've seen so many of these casual games, as you mentioned, that generate tons of money and have tons of players, and no one talks about them ever. They don't have any community, but that's fine because that's the whole point of the game. Whereas some other games on mobile, they have a lot of players, but they're very competitive, which means they have community. So I think noticing the kind of difference between them, mobile has a lot of different areas it can go. I think it's a lot more it's a lot more operationalized for PC. No matter if you're making an indie game or AAA game, you want to have kind of the same launch. You want community, you want Discord, you want all these same things, right? No matter what region you are in. It's kind of, there's a formula for it, but in mobile, it's very creative still. So I think there's a lot of room for, growth, and because it's such a young part of gaming compared to, console or PC, I think people are being very creative with it. And like you said, I think mobile gaming, this isn't mobile esports specific, but I think there's a TikTok trend with dumb ways to die, of just people doing something stupid and then have a dumb ways to die song. That revitalized the game. I think the game pushed to over 100 million downloads because of that. So that's not esports, but that's mobile gaming. It's an integration into social platforms like Matt has mentioned before, and I think that's something very key and very easy to do with mobile, right? It's harder to switch from TikTok to playing a Apex Legends versus TikTok to playing, dumb ways to die. Just because the device is way more compatible and way more, it makes sense in that sense from the social platform perspective. So I think there's just a lot of creativity with mobile. And maybe because PC and console have been around for a lot longer, they've kind of figured out what works and they just do that over and over again. But with mobile, it's different ways to engage, different ways to, innovate that technology too.
That's amazing.
Yeah, lots of possibility of creativity. What do you think, Blizzard Queen?
Well, I definitely agree on this technology aspect that is going to affect, because we need to take into account the first thing that Mark mentioned, that was this idea of get the mobile players to go to a new mobile game. Not, for example, if you want to do Wild Rift, don't attract the League of Legends players, right? This idea. You get another mobiles to play the game. So we need to work on that. We need to work on this device. That is the best thing about Free Fire. For example, you can run it from almost every phone, but you couldn't do that with Apex Legends. And I love that game. I'm so sad that it's going to end, but it is true, you need a good phone to play it. And it's going to happen with, I don't know, the rest of the titles that are coming. For example, I can see that with Rainbow Six. I think it's a possibility that is going to be will require so much graphics and everything from your phone, and it's going to be a problem. So they need to adapt that to make it more compatible with different devices. All these changes done, of course, I see a great future, but I think many different titles are going to come out and they will fail until they find their own spot, until they continue investing money, promoting the game, and then they will rise up, let's say. So it's going to be with ups and downs, I believe, at least for the next titles that are coming. And the same will happen with esports, I believe. But it's to continue hard working, and I think they will continue growing, and they're going to be bigger than PC and console, in 5 years for sure.
I hope to see that becoming true at the end.
We will.
And last but not least, Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I obviously have a lot of thoughts about the future of mobile
Go
gaming
ahead,
and gaming and
same.
everything. But I think we've already talked about a lot of the amazing things that are in store for mobile. I'll, I guess, close for myself here with a couple things that I think are completely on the cusp of disrupting the games industry as a whole. Not just mobile, but I think that these are going to be such huge revolutions that it's also going to change everything for us too. And that's Web3 and AI. We already saw a bit of Web3 over the last couple of years, but I just am such a believer that ownership of assets going to the players is inevitable, and that blockchain is a really natural infrastructure for that to take place and to have peer-to-peer economies within games to exchange items and skins and trade weapons, whatever you want to do in the game. All right. So I still personally really believe that that's the future, including for mobile games. And what's happening right now in AI over even just the last couple of months is absolutely mind blowing. There are companies that are building AI games startups where it can automatically generate with AI a new game mode for your game, so that it's completely changing the landscape of like how game development is done, because AIs can do it at a snap of the fingers. So that means any player can go in and say, hey, all right, I want my character to have a pink headset with cat ears, right? And then immediately in that game, your character is walking around with that headset, right? And then you can also have kind of this like infinite branch of options within a game, so that you can have game modes that you decide what to do, right? So you take the left path instead of the right one, and the game developer doesn't need to build that path on the left side because the AI is doing it automatically. And so I won't go too far down this rabbit hole, but what AI can do is basically let players create their own stories within the game, because it's automatically generating content based on the choices that they make. So it's really, really cool. Again, this has all kind of popped up just in the last couple of months, but something that I'm watching really closely right now.
The artificial intelligence would inspire another roundtable, because it's a very controversial topic. You talk about, of course, how can you create your own story, your own character, just by dictating to an AI some prompts and so on. But there's a lot of controversy, because that interferes to the works of the. That interferes with the work of the artists and the writers of the game and the designers and so on. And well, we are running out of time, but just for the last topic, don't you think that the artificial intelligence will destroy the jobs of the designers, the writers, or maybe they have to adapt themselves to? But that will be another topic. Yeah.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people
Because
that are
there's a lot of
asking
controversy
that right
with
now.
the. It's a very, it could my actually, because the artificial intelligence is so.
It's a really interesting topic, actually. It's especially as a lawyer, we are talking and discussing
Yeah,
about
that's-
this, especially intellectual property rights. And
I point that
think
I should point that, yeah, because she's a lawyer, and that would be.
I think what the problems I see is, especially, is, for example, for artificial intelligence, I'm so keen that there is all this advance, and I think it could be really interesting, especially for helping the artists. It could be really useful. But I think actually that maybe people who do artificial intelligence should be aware of all the needs and how they can help, and try not to destroy employments and so on. But I think at the
How
end,
can they create a common ground, between artificial intelligence and the
Exactly.
traditional jobs of the
it's a really
designers?
interesting topic, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to bore you with the legal stuff, because I actually I like it. It's an interesting topic regarding intellectual property a lot, because we have plenty of discussion if it could be like IA can be, for example, the authorship or not. There are a lot of discussion from my side of view, according to the not yet, maybe the future we'll see. But I think it could be a really useful tool to help artists. But
And
the problem is the people who use it. But that's another topic. Sorry, guys.
that's another topic, talking about legal aspects of the artificial intelligence and so on.
So thank you so
So
much.
we
We're running out
got
of time.
many food for thought about mobile gaming, and also I love how you destroy many misconceptions about mobile gaming and all the possibilities that mobile gaming has into the sports industry, and all the potential and all the possible path we can follow to make the mobile industry big. What do you think,
And-
Jasmina?
I think it's quite interesting that we have a really amazing roundtable. Everyone of guys, you have been amazing. You bring so much interesting topics, things that I didn't realize, like for example, geographical locations and others perspective to take into account. But I know we have running out of time. And thank you so much for coming. I know some of you have to continue working.
Yeah, and some of you have to continue working. Some of you also have to. Some of us have to watch The Last of Us episode
Yes.
from last night.
There you go.
Thank you very much for coming to Match Rocklet, to the Lizard Queen, to Mark A for all your wisdom. Maybe we can play some mobile gaming afterwards the program. Which is your favorite mobile game for you?
I'm playing a lot of Marvel Snap right now myself.
Marvel Snap is
I'm sorry, no, I
it's the king
can't.
of addiction. It's Marvel Snap.
I'm Legends of Runeterra, so I won't play Marvel Snap. But well,
Which one is
Wild
your
Rift
favorite?
is my number one at the moment. Yes.
I was playing Madden NFL Mobile for quite a while. But yeah, American football, so it's very localized. No one else outside the U.S. will probably care about this game. I really liked it for when I was playing it. So yeah.
It has been really nice, guys, to have you here, and thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It has been really amazing. I hope a lot of people learn from you guys, and of course follow them and all social media
Yeah.
they have, and learn more. And of course, Laura, we have Esports Fitness Live for the entire season, for the entire week. They have a lot
Yeah.
of roundtable discussions here.
Well, this is a roundtable week. You know what? By the end of every month, we have the roundtable week. So we will have interesting topics on corporate, on workers, innovation,
So
and many
much fun.
more. So follow us in Sports Live. You got us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and YouTube. And may you see you next week as well with more Sports Live International. So thank you very much for coming, and may you have an awesome week. Lots of kisses to you all.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.